It's the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I'm your host, Brian Earhart. My co-host, Nate Perkins, joins me from Santa Cruz, California. I'm really upset with him. I'm very jealous of him right now. You're playing the Masters Cup right now at De La Viega. Nate, bring the listeners in. What's it like to go out to Santa Cruz and play disc golf?
Brian, it remains one of the more special tournaments for me personally, and every year I'm reminded why I make the trip back. It's just an incredible place to find yourself in middle of May. We're just cruising on the scooters along the East Cliff and the West Cliff, looking over at otters, swimming with the surfers. And then up on the hill, De La Viega Park, it's just one of the more historic courses. It was one of the courses that like inspired me to go out west, was to play De La. I had seen a few YouTube videos, a few Central Coast videos of the course, and it just looked like disc that I'd never seen before in Texas, and I wanted to get out there and play it. And I think this is now my ninth Masters Cup, and it holds up, and it's just history.
There's so many things about the course that I like, and I've played there, I think maybe 2 times I've played the Masters Cup, maybe 3. But what I really love about that course is there's no outclassing the course. You have to show up and you have to throw really high-level shots. Your ground play has to be immaculate. You have to accept that there's going to be some bad luck here and there. The course is pretty nasty if you're not on your game. I just love crossing fairways that you've seen since you grew up playing disc golf. I remember watching videos of the previous generations playing it, getting so excited about the day that I could go out to Santa Cruz and play there for the very first time. And yeah, Nate, it was all worth it. You go from blasting distance driver at all these courses as hard as you can, and you get to throw a mid-range. You get to land the mid-range softly. I think of the one hole, I don't even know what they play it as these days, but it's just after top of the world. It's just kind of down the road a little bit, and you're playing down the hill. It's kind of a technical shot. You got to land it soft. And those types of shots get me super excited for disc golf. And I remember being in a place of fun out there. Like, I didn't feel like I was doing my job as a player. I felt like I was playing Frisbee again.
Yeah.
And just a testament to the community out there and how much they love this course. It hasn't changed a super ton. I know the course you're playing now, though, is kind of accommodating the pros.
Yeah, it really is. And I want to touch on some things that you brought up there. It challenges you on shots that we don't see players challenged on anymore. It's those slow speed shots and the way that a disc behaves after it hits the ground, I think, is what De La really forces you to focus on. Normally you see players just, they're out there 100 feet, they're just jump putting up there, but you really can't do that at De La on almost any hole. You have to be very precise about how flat it's landing, how slow it's landing. And so it's really fun to see, your Gannon Burrs and your Isaacs really focus in on that and be able to show that they can also do that as well as like rip on a driver and make putts. So that's what De La really holds on to for me. And yeah, this year, the layout, they heard the pros were coming. It's a DGPTQ series. So instead of, playing 27 or 24 holes, they made it 18, and they like to push the pins back into almost ungettable par 3 locations. And there's no par 4s. So it's a par 54 course, and it's tough. Yesterday, the hot round on Friday was a 7 down, which was 1070 golf. You shoot even, you're shooting 1,000 rated. And honestly, any pro could have shot somewhere from like 3 big to like 5 down. So pretty dynamic course. Birdies are hard to come by, and a lot of pars feel really good out there.
I know you don't play a lot of tournaments anymore. I know you've been doing a lot of disc golf media, kind of similar to me. How rusty do you feel playing this tournament?
Yeah, I'm rusty. The backhand is the first thing to lose. I lose the confidence there, and you really have to have that confidence to be able to, throw straight mid-range shots. So I'm kind of forcing some forehands in spots that really needs a straight mid, and It's tough to score, but it's still a ton of fun, and I'm getting some good birdies. I shot even today, which was like 1,006 rated or something like that. So, but you remember we had Marweed on last week.
Mm.
I played with him today. We both shot three big round one, so I got to actually play with Marweed and watch him like sink putts from deep C2 with Santa Cruz Cliffs looming in the backdrop. It was pretty special to play with him.
That town was the first town when I was on tour for the very first time that I kind of sunk into. It felt like up until that point, I would get to town, practice as many hours a day as I could, and then go to sleep and then wake up. I was too excited about the competition itself and the disc golf. I went to the boardwalk, I went to Verve and got a coffee, and I walked
Yeah.
down and watched surfers and sat on a bench and just kind of existed in the town, felt like a local. That is what made me fall in love with being out there on tour for the very first time and, feeling finally comfortable in a place that's not your home. There was a place we stayed with Cedar Morgan,
Oh, cool.
who's a local guy out there, lives just down the road from a place called AJ's, which is a gas station, but it's also like a deli counter, and you go in there and they have all these marinated meats, and you pick a chicken or a steak that's been marinating, and he makes a breakfast burrito for you, and then you walk. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a wonderful place, and I know you felt kind of the same way being in Santa Cruz. It's sad that it's not on the tour anymore, but, the memories I have are really, really special.
Yeah, good, Brian. It's a good place to be, man. I mean, it was a hub for skateboarding. The Hawaiians taught the Americans how to surf here, and then just so happens disc golf also found some roots here as well. So it's a cruisy place.
Well, not only is Masters Cup happening right now, but US Masters is happening. The Tim Selinski is going on down in New Mexico. And I gotta say, I'm watching that coverage. Moon Mountain is legit. I wanna take a
Gorgeous.
vacation to New Mexico now. That is like dream disc golf, pines everywhere, no underbrush, elevation. What do you make of that place? I know you've been talking to Paul Oman, who's playing that tournament right now.
Yeah, it's just outside of Ruidoso, and it's like 5,500 feet in elevation and massive pine trees, like no underbrush. Looks absolutely incredible. I was talking to Paul. He said that he's throwing over wild horses in the fairway, Brian. He sent me a photo. It's unreal. It's this beautiful cloudy sky, just big thunderheads, big pine trees, and then sure enough, there's like five or six wild horses just in the fairway of hole 17, and he got the birdie there over the horses. But they're in a pretty sweet battle, Brian. It's Kale LaVisca sitting through two rounds at 32. Daniel Polk, who has battled with LaVisca back in Minnesota many times, is playing really good. He shot 10 today. He's at 31. Sexton 30. Paul 29. So that's your lead card for U.S. Masters, which is legitimate. Sexton's first Masters tournament, I believe.
Yeah, just turned 40. That Masters field, Nate, is gonna be unbelievable in a few years' time. I think Big Germ is eligible this year as well.
Cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's gonna be able to play Masters Worlds, which
Cool.
we're gonna get to cover live on the Disc Golf Network this year, which I cannot wait. I'm not sure if you and I are working the event, but I'm stoked that we're starting to cover some Masters tournaments because each and every year, it seems like one more Nate Sexton, one more Kale LaVisca joins the pack, and eventually it's gonna be just an incredible star-studded, field, but man, you look down the list and there's so much talent already. Pete Ulibarri, Steve Brinster's in the field, JC Kester, one of the best thumber throwers in the world, Martin Hendel's out there, Matthew Blakely, another longtime great player. Yeah, I'm excited about that, but I love that they get to play courses that don't pass the infrastructure test for a disc golf pro tour event. Like if we
Sure.
could, Moon Mountain looks like the place I'd like to go for the tour. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure what other things it passes.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like a service issue, but I really feel like we need a mountain course like on the map.
Mhm.
New Mexico, Taos, Ruidoso, and anywhere up in Colorado. There's just plenty of people ready for a big event there.
Send us an email if you're listening, abnbpod@gmail.com. if you know of a mountain course, maybe by where you live, that you think could host a disc golf pro tour event, I I'm gonna just will this into existence at some point because I feel the same way, Nate. I know it's tough to have all those factors play into putting the event out there. I know Bailey was the last mountain course that we kind of played, and
We
we
got
did
the
that for the
match
match
play.
play.
That was
Yeah,
sweet.
it was amazing. It was such a sweet change up from the rest of the tour, and I've played some pretty incredible mountain courses. But Nate, what's the best one that you've ever played that you'd consider a mountain course?
Yeah, the ones up in Montana, you could consider those mountain courses, but
Mhm.
yeah, Beaver in Colorado is up there. And yeah, there's a couple in Bend that are up there as well. The one on Mount Bachelor. Anytime you get to take a ski lift up to start your round, I'm game for it.
Yeah, I would say Beaver Ranch is pretty high up there for me as well, another beautiful course. But again, in Denver, I have been getting messages from people saying that there's tons of Beaver Ranch type courses within that vicinity that are a little bit less known. And I hope one day we can find the formula to get the tour out there because me and you we've joked about this for a long time. We got to get the disc golf pro tour on the moon. We got to get the disc golf pro tour in the Amazon rainforest. We got to get
Redwoods,
disc
yeah.
golf in places that showcase the beauty of where we go. Long story short, I'm pretty taken aback by this Moon Mountain course. It feels so unique compared to everything else that we've seen on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So it's a treat to get to watch coverage of a place like that and watch guys, of the caliber of LaVisca. Daniel Polk is a stud. I've played with him as well. Sexton, Paul Oman. I love watching these guys play out there.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about this place and anything else you've heard? I mean, playing over wild horses is pretty special.
It is, Brian. And honestly, it's a battle. I'll be glued to the scores tomorrow and I'll be watching the coverage for sure. LaVisca has played some really high level golf at a lot of Masters majors and still hasn't taken a title down. I mean, Joe Revere has beaten him a couple times at Worlds, and then he got beat. I can't remember the guy's name. Scott. Was it Scott Conway? I think that got him
Yep.
out on the East Coast at that major in the woods, and Philo got him at U.S. Masters, I believe, last year.
Mhm.
So Kale has to play really high level golf, and that's what they're doing over there. They're pushing double digits every round. So I'll look forward to the round tomorrow.
With that said, we're going to jump ahead. We have a Cascade Challenge preview coming up. We got the tournament director, Jeff Korns, joining us to kind of fill us in on what's going on out there in Shelton Springs. But right now, I want to jump to something that I think is pretty special. The forehand distance record set in 2014 by Jason Cortella, 624 feet, I believe, has been broken. I'm not sure if it was officially broken. It was measured via laser, like rangefinder and UDisc.
Okay.
But Ryan Sheldon of Minnesota, notoriously like the biggest forehand thrower in the world,
Yeah.
finally smashes the record 669-foot forehand throw. This is on Disc Golf Bro Tour on YouTube. Check the video out. Watch him smash these clean 360 forehands over 600 feet. It's something that I've never seen anybody else come close to doing.
Yeah.
Have you played with Ryan before?
Haven't had the opportunity to play with him, but I've seen him throw max power forehands at the preserve, hole 18, 360, and he showed his grip, and he's gripping the disc like I've never seen before either. He has four fingers on the rim. So he's just completely breaking what we think you do to throw power forehands. And yeah, I watched the YouTube video on the Bro Tour channel, and it wasn't even that wind aided, Brian. So I think if we got him out in the desert, like with the official whiff diff, that he could push much further than that.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna get a disc right now. Well, I don't have a disc near me. I'm gonna get my phone. Show me if this is my forehand grip. What does he do differently?
Brian, I think he puts all four fingers on the inside rim, power grip like that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yep.
Like this.
Yep. That's it. And then 360. It's unreal. I haven't seen anything like it. I mean, he's throwing the disc like upper 80 miles per hour, like 85 to 90 miles per hour.
He has to have done tech disc, and if he hasn't,
Yeah.
I really would need him to go do that.
Ooh, let's
1028
send him
rated
one.
player too. We'll get him one. That's just
Yeah.
unbelievable. I can't even stress to people how hard it is to throw 500 on flat ground. There's a lot of people that I've seen tell me that they can throw 500 feet. The moment you watch them throw, you watch them throw one time and you know they can't throw 500 feet. It's so much farther than people think. And to see a guy like this throw a Halo Boss 669 is just unbelievable. But with that, Nate, I'm going to read a couple of other pretty phenomenal disc-related world records.
Cool.
And I want you to maybe rank the ones that you think are the most impressive. So, obviously, Dave Wiggins is the big one. That's the world distance record. 338 feet, 1109, something like that. Or 338 meters. That's obvious. MTA world record set in 1984. 16.72 hasn't been broken since. 16.72 seconds set by Don Kane. And for those of you who don't know what MTA is, it's an old Frisbee discipline from back in the day. You used to have to do it during overall competitions if you wanted to win. And you threw a disc up as high as you could. You clocked how long it was in the air, and you had to catch it with one hand before it hits the ground. If you have a lot of power, like a player like you or I could throw a disc up in the air, have it just kind of boomerang back to us, we could get a 6 or a 7. To even get over 10 seconds, you're throwing it up as high as you can, as hard as you can, hitting the wind perfect. It hits a flat shelf and then starts to flex out. You have to get like a really specific disc to do it, and you're chasing it.
Touchy shot.
Super touchy. I saw a 12-second MTA in person, and it looked like it was in the air forever. It flexed out fully. It was like a fastback, I think, like an old school Frisbee, 110 grams or something. And I can't even fathom 4 more seconds. And there's a reason why, it was set in 84 and nobody's broken it since. That's a pretty impressive one. 2,900 holes played in 24 hours set by Mike Sale. That to me, Nate, that might be the one. Do you think that's ever going to get broken?
I can't imagine someone even looking at that and wanting to try and break it. That's not even fun, that's just endurance.
Didn't you just see Mike Sale? He plays the Masters Cup pretty frequently.
He's playing the Masters Cup. Yep. I played behind him yesterday. He's a good friend of mine. I go way back with Sale. I played my very first PDGA sanctioned round with Mike Sale. He was playing, I believe, CSUMB. He was on the same team as Jason Cortella, oddly enough, the guy who held the forehand world record since 2014. So, yeah, I've known Sale a long time. Great dude. He shot like 1030 yesterday. He's playing well.
The video of him breaking that record, by the way, is on YouTube. And he does it over at the Blockhouse in Virginia. It's a private course. They kind of have this little tiki course. The holes are very short. So, yes, he played a lot of very short holes. But I'd love to see anybody do something similar and break that, because that I think takes the cake for me.
Brian, I just want to know how many aces he got on the 2,900 holes. What do you think?
I actually think I feel like the stats are somewhere. He did ace multiple times,
Nice.
but I don't know how many he got. But you could look it up somewhere and find it. But I think he kept score the entire time.
Wow.
I think to set the record, you have to have score to document it. But yeah, I can't even. Oh yeah, 114 aces.
114. It's off the charts. It's crazy.
To be fair, some of the holes are 100 to 120 feet. But hats off to Mike Sale. Frankly, MTA world record's impressive. Wiggins' record is insane. I don't know. What do you think is the least likely to be broken?
Well, I think throw, run, catch is beatable. We've messed around with it a bit. I think that one's attainable. I think it's under 300 feet. MTA, that
94 meters.
Okay. Yeah, MTA, that one feels untouchable, right? It's just the perfect wind read, perfect moment, and it just stays up flat and just floats. It's possible, but that's why it's a world record, and it's what is that, 40 years it's held? It's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, and I believe the guy passed away as the world record holder. I believe he used to wear a hat that had 16.72 like embroidered on it, just to kind of rub it in everybody's face.
That's
Um,
baller.
what about the distance record? Do you think that's going to get broken? Do you think AB is going to go to the desert and break it?
It you need the wind that they had, right? We used to think that too much wind and it would push your disc down, but then it got to a point where it was blowing 50, 60 plus and they were throwing them, a couple 100 feet in the air and just letting it ride like super nose down, right? Like letting the wind just sail it. So I feel what we need to do is have an indoor record if we can get a airplane hangar somewhere, have an indoor record, and then we have different records depending on how much wind aid you have. Similar to a 100-meter sprint, right? They have the wind there because it's important. So I was a little bummed about that day and the way that it all shook up, that they were still allowing them to throw and go after the record, but so I don't think that specific one will ever be broken, Brian.
I still am very tickled by the story Simon told me on the episode of Catch we did last year, where he told me that he threw one that same day that went so far they lost it and never saw the disc again. And
Wow.
Simon, in his heart, believes he has the world distance record and thinks that thing might have gone 14, 1,500 feet. Which,
That's
you know
sad. I
what?
wish I wish we knew.
There should always be a division of like, I don't care if there's a hurricane, what's the world distance record? But I agree with you. I think there should be um, different categories of it. I think there should be an
Yeah.
indoor world record as well. I actually have heard rumors that there is a team putting something together for this. I don't have anything concrete. I don't have any details, but it sounds like there's a group of people who are very motivated to make this happen and lock down one of those airplane hangars
Cool.
to have a huge distance competition and bring all the best throwers in to try to set one. So that's cool. My question for you, what did you just say about sprinting? There's wind limits on sprinting?
Well, I think that they have the records associated with the wind that they had. So if it's above a certain tailwind, it won't count as the world record. Like
Mm.
there's people that have ran faster than like Bolt's record in the 100 and the 200, but I think it's like over, five, I don't even know, 5 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour of tailwind, and they put an asterisk next to it.
I see. Well, then with that, what categories should they have if you were to segment off distance world records?
Well, the indoor and then different, 20 mile per hour, 40 mile per hour, 60 mile per hour plus. I don't know what it was that day. I think it was over 60, but yeah, just different categories like, no wind, headwind would be cool as well. Why
The
not just,
5 mile an
split
hour
it up?
headwind world
Yeah, the
record.
little bit of headwind as well. Let's see what you got.
I threw a pretty solid shot into a headwind back in 2013. It was like my only claim to fame. We had like a slight head cross to the left at the world distance competition, and it like slightly helped me as a lefty. And I threw 552, I believe, and
Ooh,
Wiggins won the competition with like a 556 or something like that.
dude, you were
Um,
close.
I almost got it. And actually, funny story, I because I was throwing a lot faster back then. My form was a lot worse. I had no touch. I actually learned a funny lesson from Barsby that same tournament. Um, but I went into this wanting to win, and Prodigy was just starting to get big. There was this run of D3s that they did. These like gray D3s. I think they were 400G, something like that. They were not see through, and I got a stack of them. I don't remember how or why. But I had four of those D3s, and then I had one like pop top 167 Avery Jenkins Destroyer. It was like the best distance driver I had ever thrown, and I still think to this day it's the best distance driver, single disc that I've ever had. And I threw the 4, and they were all pretty good. I actually had a very good set. And then the Destroyer came, and I hit the wind perfect, especially that head cross. It's really touchy, but I nailed it. And that was the 552 that got me second place.
Wow.
Dave Greenwell with Prodigy was there watching me throw. He was watching me throw the gray D3s. And I was like, oh boy, he's right there. I got to do something cool. Afterwards, he pulls me aside, shakes my hand, asks who I am, and asks me what I was throwing. And I am so stupid because Nate, I was like, oh yeah, the one I hit 552 with was a 167 Destroyer. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like,
conversation
all right.
over.
Well, good luck to you this week. And I never talked to him again. I mean, I've talked to him in passing since then, but
it's a good story.
I didn't get sponsored by Discraft until 2017. So that was like my big moment. But actually, since we have a little time before Jeff Korns hops on the show, that same tournament, because I was just the power guy. I chucked sidearm really hard. I threw backhand really hard. That was it.
Was that where was it? Lemon Lake?
Lemon Lake. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. I cashed at that tournament. It was like a big deal for me back then. Greg Barsby was testing out discs for that Deity disc company that he was kind of working on with some people. They were molding discs back then. And he's testing out with people this like really overstable 10 or 11 speed. Like really overstable. And I went up there and I was like, oh, I can't wait to try these discs. I just wanted to get noticed by somebody back then. So I go up, I take a disc from Greg, and I just yam this thing on the hardest Anheuser I possibly could, just to prove to him how strong I was. And it flew a good line, maybe went 375 and then crashed out. And Greg goes, how long you been playing disc golf for? And I was like, 9 years. And he's like, you'll get over that power phase soon. Nice to meet you. And then I walked off so angry. I was like, who does this guy think he is? He doesn't know me. And I'm driving home. And I was like, he's right. I have nothing else but this shot. And he saw right through me. And I learned a very valuable life lesson from him that day because he was right. And then that rest of that year, I tried to learn how to throw a buzz because I had no mid-ranges that I could throw back then. So yeah, wow. That was my experience. Yeah.
Classic Barsby story, man. Love that. He called you out.
It was so cold. Like the way he like looked at me, I could tell that he knew that I was just trying to impress him. And he was just like, get away from me. You're being kind of a jerk. I could see how cocky you are. You're not going to win this tournament. And he was right.
You set you straight, man. You became a touchy guy.
Yeah, it's funny how much I value finesse now, even from like a commentator standpoint. When I see a player do something really touchy, I kind of get tingly. There's like a warm feeling that goes through me.
You do love that finesse, man.
Oh, yes, I do. And sometimes to a fault, because I really like players stylistically, like how they play the game. And then sometimes when a player does everything that's asked of them and they, dominate the tournament, I'm not as impressed. I'm not as impressed with the golf of disc golf, which is what makes you a champion and what kind of makes you a legend. I'm like too impressed with someone making it overly hard on themselves. I remember Bradley Williams was telling me that he used to play the game like that back then, and it would drive him insane. But yeah, I'm a big fan of people doing things stylistically. But yeah, that's it's funny how that works. What about you, Nate? Do you have any life lessons that you were taught along the way by older generations?
Well, actually, Greg Barsby had a massive impact on me, right? He was the one who kind of called me in the middle of the night and asked me to come pick him up and go on tour with him. And he taught me a lot of lessons about throwing a backhand, touch putter shots. He taught me how to like get the nose up and like where to put your wrist and how you can actually like drop your body down and like use your body a little bit more to get that nose up and control the speed and stuff. And also just him and Le Castro, I learned so much from them in that first year on how to bring the fire to the next tournament, right? How to rally yourself even when you're not feeling great on the road, but how to just let it all roll off your shoulders and like bring your A game when you need to at B tier between the big events, you know. So yeah, Barsby actually had a huge impact on me.
It's so funny you bring up Nico because so many people bring him up as someone who like doesn't have the fire all the time. He like loses steam, he loses momentum, and blah blah blah. That dude, even after missing cash 3 tournaments in a row, has the most belief in himself still. And I think only until recently did he ever tell me something about feeling old or feeling like he wasn't as quick as he used to be. He still thinks he's going to win a major title, and I just have to respect it because that's a superpower, and it might also feel like a curse too. I don't know. I know Kobe Bryant, a really obsessive competitor, always said that he felt like he was cursed. But man, there's some people that would just kill to have the ability to get right back on the horse after a performance that kind of shakes your confidence a little bit.
Yeah, it is, man. It is both a superpower and a curse, Brian. I mean, the sacrifices that, Nico and really everyone has to continue to make to grind it out there. And you have to make that decision. You have 3 missed caches in a row. Like, how do you manage the intense failure and the emotions that come with that failure while also continuing to think that you can win the next tournament? And how do you integrate that while you're training? It's tough out there. So it's to continue it after how long has he been touring, Brian? 2009 he won
Man,
US, 2007. So he's pushing, I think, over 20 years he's been playing at a high level. And I do have to tip my hat to him because I think that a lot of people would have already given it up, especially with where the talent is going right now.
I could not agree more, Nate. And with that, we have a special guest that just knocked on our door. We have the tournament director of the Cascade Challenge coming up. Jeff Korns is joining us for a wonderful interview. We will be right back. Welcome back and welcome in Jeff Korns, tournament director here at the Cascade Challenge coming up. Jeff, tournament time coming up around the corner. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling good. I was feeling a little bit of stress like last week, but I'm on site now. Like I got the team here. Everything's feeling good. We're in a great spot.
Well, I want you and Nate to both talk about this because I feel like you both are very good at this. We're in Washington for this tournament. It's a beautiful property. Jeff, you can start. Just bring the listeners in to this Shelton Springs course and kind of terrain-wise where we are.
Yeah, we have a wonderful wooded track, and I think that's something in the Pacific Northwest and on the West Coast that we want to showcase. Like we have a lot of golf courses kind of popping up on the West Coast on the tour, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this court, like the disc golf, is it's made for the woods. So I love that we can showcase that here in Shelton, and the courses and beautiful spring bloom. Like everything looks phenomenal out there. There's so much work that's gone in to beautify that place, and I just can't wait to show it off on the coverage when we get there.
Perkins, tell me your feelings about this place from your special Nate Perkins side of things when you look at courses.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, it's just west side of the Puget Sound. So it's the same road that you take if you're headed up to the Olympic Peninsula. And Shelton isn't quite hitting like the mountainous area. It's still pretty flat right there, but you go just a little bit further and you're looking at the Olympic range, snow-capped peaks, and amazing dense forest that the Shelton Springs course is in. It's incredible. And honestly, one of the more technical courses that I think we're going to see all year. What do you think, Jeff? Is there a more technical track that we're going to see on the elite level on the Pro Tour?
I think we've definitely got courses on the Elite Tour that have maybe tighter fairways, but we have a lot of extensive woods that we're going to get to play through. And our course has gotten some major distance added to it over the past year of some upgrades. So I can't wait to kind of showcase that and it's definitely going to challenge people in the woods. Like scores can get low, but it's hard to repeat those, really good rounds with the
Yeah.
density and the difficulty of the shots.
Yeah, we saw Conrad, he shot 14 down, I think, round one last year. And then, as you said, wasn't able to repeat the exact lines and actually didn't even end up winning that year. We've seen Nicholas play really hot out here, carving it with those really steep Annie flexes through the woods. It's a really special property. I was excited to see it back on the Elite Series, Jeff. So congratulations on that. And I kind of want to ask you, like, how much are you able to, make adjustments to the track and who all is involved with the design aspect kind of behind those adjustments?
It's definitely been a good collaboration between me and the local crew out here on designing these new holes that we're working on. It's a privilege to be able to work with the city on this course. The local club has a wonderful agreement with the city where they actually lease the property from the city. So they have control of the property. They get to choose what tournaments get approved to be run out there. And when you're a tournament director running an event out there, the money that you're paying for greens fees to reserve the property, it all gets invested back into the property. The city's not taking this money and going and doing something with it. Like the club is handling that, and they're just doing a lot to improve the
Cool.
property all the time.
All right. That's huge.
Yeah, the design wise, we're have a great chance to really focus on all these new holes that we're building with the Disc Golf Pro Tour in mind. Shelton Springs has a 3 tee pad, 1 pin position design philosophy where every single par is the same from every tee pad, but there's a different tee pad for every level of player, from the red tee pads to the whites to even the blue tee pads. Now we're getting some gold tee pads sprinkled in there. It's, anyone can go out there, have the great experience, kind of like a Maple Hill, where you can, play a course that suits your skill level, but still have that full experience that challenges you.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned to me earlier in the day, you guys are taking the MPO layout from 8,300 feet all the way up to 9,700 for the Pro Tour event. Congratulations. That's a pretty tough undertaking.
Yeah.
What did you do to get there?
We built some monster holes. That would definitely added a lot of our quick distance. Was right now the Shelton Springs course is 20 holes, but we're going to obviously only use 18 for the Disc Golf Pro Tour event. We basically lost 2 of our shortest holes in the layout, and we added an 1,100-foot par 5 in the woods, and then another 770-ish foot par 4 for the MPO. So it's, we're trying to keep pushing that threshold. We think that I want to get over 10,000. I think that's an appropriate number, especially since we're not like in super tight woods. Like we started getting this comparison, and we definitely don't want to let it get to our head because this is really high praise. But a lot of people are starting to describe some of the holes out here as holes that remind them of W.R. Jackson. So that's where we want to keep pushing the style of design, having the multiple fairways on par 4s and 5s where appropriate. And, W.R. Jackson's long tee pad layout, I think, was 10,500 feet. So I think that's, the target goal is around there.
That's got to feel phenomenal to hear that from people. It sounds like the players were telling you that it reminded them of W.R. Jackson. Can you kind of explain what that means to be compared to Jackson in regards to what are they comparing, essentially?
I think it's just the style, the density of the woods, the really big trees. Like you have like course like Waco has tight, small trees and woods, a thick rough. Same with Northwood in Illinois. But we have just big evergreen trees that we get to play in. We have some like holes where we're fortunate to have, grass growing in the forest, which I think is an incredible look.
Mm-hmm.
And, to me, like I love hearing that compliment, but it's the local club that is, they hear that and they're just like, whoa, people are comparing us to W.R. Jackson, because you hear a lot of touring pros say W.R. Jackson or Maple Hill. It's probably like those two courses where the two that touring players say that's their favorite track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's quite the coveted comparison, Jeff. Yeah, so congrats on that for sure. I'm excited to see some power shots in the woods. I think, as you mentioned, that's where disc golf is best, served is in the dense evergreen forest. And I really want to ask you, where the where the passion comes from to devote so much time to host a tournament. I know that this isn't your first even Elite Series. You hosted, chess.com, and you've ran some successful tournaments in the past. Like where does that passion come from, Jeff?
I think I've always just enjoyed putting on a show. Like, I feel like this is a big party and I get to host something really fun and really awesome that all the players get to come and enjoy. So I love, that aspect of it, but the dedication of this, the local club makes this, a breeze for me to do. I've worked with a lot of LOCs and, these guys just take on anything. Like the fact that I literally said we put an 1,100-foot par 5 in the woods and we, brushwhacked through all these trees, found, fairways, and we're just over here like, all right, the landing zone's like 300 feet that way. Can you see the top of that tree? Like that's our reference point of like where we just were. And I'm like looking through trees and I'm like, I have no idea where we're at, but like, I think this is about where we want to be. And then once we got a brush hog in there and ripped through the forest, we got to a point where like, oh, wow, we actually have a hole and like, we're going to play disc golf down this. And it's awesome.
Wow. It sounds like fun.
Is that 1,100-foot par 5 going to be the signature hole in your opinion?
I think we went to that hole with the thought process of we wanted it to be the most challenging hole in the course for sure. I don't think it's actually funny. It is also our hole 12, and people think about like hole 12 at Northwood. It's definitely not a hole that's going to rack up those massive numbers like Northwood does. Birdies definitely in play. We're not going to be sitting here thinking at the end of the weekend, wow, 3 people birdied hole 12. That's incredible. Birdies in play for sure. But I think, good players might take a 7 on it. Like if you get off the fairway early and then you're not finding yourself back into the fairway or in position, the strokes are going to rack up on that hole. I think it's going to probably average over par. And the next hole after it, our new par 4, is also most likely going to average over par. It's a hole that I wanted to challenge players to throw to a very precise landing zone. And if you don't, there's a very inviting fairway to throw down, but you're going to be baited to throw something from out of position. And I think that's where that shot's going to entice the touring pro that wants to attack and get birdies. But there's a lot of danger and there's a lot of rough on a tight, narrow gap on the second shot there.
How much artificial out of bounds is there out there at Shelton Springs?
Minimal for sure. We have some in the open field holes. So it's a lot of like our spectator areas where we want people to be enjoying the view and watching the course. And then 18 does have an OB line that runs down its right side. We just want to choke in the fairway. You can kind of bail out into a field off the tee if that OB line isn't there. So we're definitely trying to go with the minimal approach. I think that's, the best way to do it.
Love that. Yeah, I love that when it, allows for that scrambling. You put those OB lines there, you're going to have a lot of separation, but the scramble opportunity, we want to see it.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure that OB doesn't feel unnatural, but it still keeps the technicality in the shots that are in the field.
And I know you're not the designer on this track, but you've been in disc golf for a very long time. You've seen, all the best courses in the world. What is your just personal opinion on artificial OB at the top level of disc golf? Like, what is its role? How much should it play a role in just course design across the board?
I think it has its place, but it's also normally because we're trying to challenge the tour level player on potentially a property that isn't intended for disc golf in the first place. Like we see it on golf courses a lot, especially on tour. So, that artificial OB does need to be there because people can, spray it all over the place. But, I do also love, like for me personally, enjoyably, I love going and playing like the Preserve, like a very open style course that, it's fun to play because you can throw shots and you don't necessarily have to throw 500 feet to the perfect spot. Like you can throw 550 and be a little bit off to the right or whatever.
So then on this course, with the changes that you've made, I know we said that James Conrad shot a 14 down here. Is 14 down possible on this track or maybe realistic?
I don't want to say no because, if you tell the tour players, oh, no, that score's not reachable, someone's going to go prove me wrong. And it's been both times the first round in 2023, James shot the 14 down and then, wasn't really able to replicate that round. He still played phenomenal down the rest of the tournament. Same thing last year. Nicholas opened up with a 14 under. But the challenge that's definitely respected with those rounds is the round ratings that come with them. They were both 1096-ish rated rounds. You know, that's obviously some of the best rounds of the year get played at that level. So I think that shows how tough it is to shoot that well. But, I think double digits is obviously going to be a great round. I think, a 10 down might put you on the lead card round 2.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, someone might put up a 14. It would be a phenomenal round if they are able to.
I have a question about kind of the other side of things, running a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, fan experience, spectator experience. What kind of infrastructure have you had to build out to accommodate people coming out to watch?
We definitely wanted to improve the general admission spectator experience out at Shelton Springs. Obviously, being in the woods, there's a limit of how many people you can get onto the fairway. So we had an access road that ran through the course where we actually got able to see a lot of the holes from a road. And we were able to actually take the brush hog again as we were clearing fairways and bring that access road all the way to another part of the course and create a full spectator loop. And I think you can see 12 to 13 holes at some point on that hole from the spectator trail. So
right.
Like if you're a general admission spectator, the tickets are, inexpensive out here. You are going to get a great experience. You're going to see a lot of disc golf. You can watch a lot of the stuff down the stretch, like holes 16, 17, and 18 are all very GA friendly. Like you're going to get a much more intimate experience, like closer to the tee boxes and in the fairways being a VIP spectator pass holder. But GA spectators are going to definitely get their money's worth, I think. And, just those course improvements allowed us to do that.
What do you feel is the future of Shelton Springs? Is this a course that's going to be on the tour for a while if you have control over it? Or is this just kind of a waiting period before you move on to a different facility?
We've been tempted with some other opportunities locally. There is a casino and resort that has an immaculate golf course. It's not a course like I love Glendevere as a property for disc golf because there are so many big trees on the edges of the fairway that you can play in. This is a much more open golf course with like just framed by big trees outside the fairways and cart paths. So I don't think it would take a lot of work to design a disc golf layout out there that's, not going to be wide open. It's going to have gaps. It's going to have shots that require technicality. But we thought about that as potential maybe, if we want to put together a bid for a major in the future. We have a wooded track where you have a really, challenging technical course in Shelton Springs, but we could go over to the casino golf course for a, larger, wide open course, similar to how Lynchburg Worlds was run in 2024. But Right now, our goal and our focus is 100% in the Shelton Springs course. The city part, like I said, the city lease agreement with the club is fantastic. The way the language is kind of drawn up, we have some flexibility to keep pushing the boundaries of the disc golf course. The disc golf course is defined by the area the disc golf course occupies. So if we move a basket somewhere, well, now that's the disc golf course. So we've kind of maneuvered our way through into new areas, but we've also told the city like, hey, we want to make sure we're not just going crazy out here. They've told us some areas where we might want to develop this into something else in the future. So maybe stay away from that so the course doesn't get affected, but keep going. There's a lot of woods. I always like looking at the map on UDisc because you see how much of the course that it occupies. And then like there's almost enough room to probably, if you wanted to, put another 18-hole course in the woods on the northeast side of the property. So the goal right now, and it's going to be a multi-year process because we want to design these holes correctly, is Shelton Springs is eventually going to be a 27-hole course where we're going to have 18 holes that are thoroughly thought through with the Disc Golf Pro Tour in mind.
Wow.
Love it. Love it, Jeff. Keep it in the woods, man. Wow.
That's where we want to. I mean, Jeff Spring gave us a property visit last summer, and he was looking at the field holes, and they're fine. Like, I think there's some really good holes. I think our starting hole has a great opportunity to watch players unleash a drive. Like, I love watching hole 1 at Maple Hill. These guys just crush a driver down the hill. And I think we have that at hole 1. It's a great spectator experience there, right at the corner of the property on a busy street. So you get a lot of traffic there. But he said, why do you guys even play in the field? You have all these beautiful woods, like just stay in the woods. And I'm like, you know what? I think we need to get in that direction and just go over there. So that's the goal.
That is a lot of really good news. That is just great to hear. Keep it in the woods. I don't need the entire Disc Golf Pro Tour to be in the woods, but we need it. It is something that needs to be preserved, and it's a style of golf that lets certain players sing a little bit more than they normally do. So I'm excited about that. Jeff, I have a little bit of a change-up question for you.
All right,
Disc golf is in your blood. It's in your blood, man. I've talked to you a lot about not even just disc golf, but Frisbee in general. You grew up in a Frisbee household. Disc golf is not the only disc discipline that you're interested in. Just take us back. Like, what was it like growing up and always having the Frisbee in your household?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a disc in my hand as long as I can possibly remember. My parents have a picture of me coming home from the hospital in a baby carrier holding a mini. Like, it's, my dad was playing Frisbee sports for forever. I mean, his PDGA number is a 4-digit number. Like, and if that's probably just whenever he got his number. People talk about now, they're like, oh yeah, I've played disc golf for 10 years. I'd never got a number until now, and this is what their number is. Well, my dad did probably the same thing, but he still has a 4-digit number. So,
That's cool, Jeff.
I've done everything from ultimate, like the overall disciplines. I know Brian used to Virginia States a couple weeks ago. I really wanted to make it out there this year, but double disc court, freestyle, all the other overall disciplines, and then disc golf, obviously. Seen a lot of parts of it. I mean, definitely right now my heart's in disc golf, but it's it's a blast, and it's been awesome to get to experience that. And I've seen my dad be the local club president of back in like Silicon Valley Disc Golf Club in Northern California. Him, Jim Chalice, he's a PDJ Hall of Famer. They're responsible for getting a lot of courses in like the San Jose Bay area. So, I learned a lot about that, watched, that as I grew up. But, now I'm just trying to, blaze my own path, do a lot in the Eugene, Oregon area. And then, obviously taking this on in Shelton's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, man, that's really, really special to see what you've done with the game, and with your success with Resistance Discs as well, and the many big time tournaments you're hosting, and the work you're putting in for this one, man. I don't think that the tournament directors and the local clubs get enough love from the fans. It's just, you guys keep the tour alive, with the work you put in, and we're thankful for you, Jeff.
Appreciate it. It's definitely, people always say being a TD is a thankless job, but I definitely feel the support from the players, especially coming off this event. And we know that like the event and the course, like we're young, it's a work in progress. We want to improve. So I always tell the players, like, I'm open to criticism. If you think a hole sucks, tell me why you think it sucks. Like, I'm not just going to, be like, all right, well, you think that hole sucks, so it's gone now. No, like, give me a good reason. Like, let's chat about it. Let's talk course design. We want to improve it. We want the players to enjoy it. Like, I mean, I was a player myself. I never played successfully at the Disc Golf Pro Tour level, but I'm a player too. Like, I know what player experience is, and I want the players to have a good experience. Like, that's why they come back to your event. So we want to get that dialogue and discourse from the players, and, hear about what they think, what, how they should be differently challenged. And that's also shaped some of our course improvements that we've done this year.
Jeff, you just gave us a lot of good stuff. I'm so excited for this tournament now. I'm so excited to see this course shine that you guys have put so much work into. Nate, do you have any other questions for our buddy before we let him go?
No, I'm looking forward to getting up there. Are we doing some match play up there as well, Jeff? Did I see that?
We are. Match play on Wednesday. Can't wait for that. I think some of the MPO matchups are phenomenal. Like, we have the defending champion of the event, Nicholas Antala, playing a 2025 event winner, and Ezra Robinson. And he's a guy who you might say could be a favorite to win this weekend. He's a great woods player, and he was the runner-up last year as well at the Q Series. Adam Hammis is playing James Proctor. Like, that's going to be exciting to watch both of those guys be aggressive and throw some exciting shots. And then on the FPO side, I think they recently maybe are working on the matchups. We had a dropout late, but Missy Gannon, Paige Pierce, Rebecca Cox, Madison Walker, going to see a lot more, great disc golf in those match play matchups. I'm excited to see that. It's going to be fun. A little preview of the course. Watch how some of these guys attack it. But yeah, I'm pumped for this week. It's going to be a good one.
Looking forward to it, Jeff. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the pod. Good to hang with you, and looking forward to
Absolutely.
the
Thanks for
journey.
having me,
I'll
guys.
definitely see you there on Wednesday for the match play.
Awesome. Yeah, let's go look around the course. I'll show you around. We've got a lot of awesome stuff going on.
Yeah, I'd
Like I
love
said, the
that,
local
man.
club, Ryan Smith, Justin Holsgrove, Mark Hill, like those guys have been absolutely instrumental in, everything that happens out here. Like I said, I'm running a disc golf pro tour event not in my backyard. So, I had to, it takes a lot of the local team that wants to take things on and, being able to ask them, be like, hey, like, what do you like? I mean, when I came to them with the concept, like, hey, we build some new holes? And I'm like, I don't want to like sound crazy, but how about like a par five in the woods? Like, what do you think? And we started at like 900 feet, and they're like, no, we can go to 1100 feet. Let's do it. Like, I'm like, all
Yes.
right, cool. Like, you guys are the ones who are going to be up here, weed eating and, clipping
Yeah.
stuff and pulling out brush. Like, if that's what you guys want to tackle, that's what you want to tackle. And they were like,
Wow.
we'll promise you 2 holes. Maybe we'll push it and get more. And then other guys are like, let's just give him the 2 holes that he wants. Like, that's enough. So, I always feel bad asking them for more, but they're always ready to step up to the plate and take on a challenge.
Yeah, can't wait to see the new ones.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much for your time, my friend. We will see you out there, and good luck. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
See you, Jeff.
Well, Nate, I am thoroughly excited for the upcoming tournament. That was a fantastic conversation with Jeff Korns. You feel the passion just oozing out of him when he speaks about this tournament. And
Yeah.
we need more and more tournament directors like Jeff with that passion. And also, what I think is special is that this is in his blood. I talked to Matt Oram, and he's like, yeah, I'm carrying on my family's name by being out here still,
Yeah.
committing everything I have to disc golf. And I could tell that Jeff's doing the same thing. What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I love how stoked he is about building new holes in the woods and, keeping it technical. And yeah, also just his kind of attention to detail with the, VIP versus the general spectating and how
Mhm.
both can have a good experience. It's what we need in a tournament director.
Well, Nate, as we wrap up that chapter, we're going to kind of close the show out with some fan questions. I know we promised it last week. The conversation got really in depth. We had the guest and Andrew Marweed kind of surprise us on the show. We didn't really get to the fan questions. So I'm just going to take a large majority of the emails we got, and we're just going to answer them in one response.
All right.
Almost all of the emails we got into abnbpod@gmail.com were about Marshals. We know what
Sure.
happened last week. We're not going to talk anymore about rule changes, blah, blah, blah. Currently, the way we have it, Marshals are fixed on certain cards. We have Marshals roaming, and then we have Marshals that are around for rules, discussions if need be.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, condemning whatever situation is out there, I just want to ask you, what is your ideal situation
Yeah.
with Marshals, the sport of disc golf at the top level?
Well, I think the ideal situation would be being able to pay a marshal to be on almost every hole, or if not, just every card has a marshal, and take a lot of the pressure of self officiating off of the players and put it a bit more in the marshal's hands. Now, we're not in a spot where, we can do that just yet. I think we need, more money in the game. And with that, I think the current situation, best case, is self officiated cards with roaming marshals that assist players if they need clarification on a rule. I don't think that only the top few cards should have marshals with them throughout their 18 holes that are allowed to enforce a rule. I just don't think that makes sense for the cards that don't have a marshal and don't have someone that is going to call a foot fault that might not be called by the players. So that's where I'm at, B. Where are you at on it?
Very similar. In Ultimate, before like the Pro League kind of started up and they started experimenting with referees for the first time, high level Ultimate, and I think this might still be how it is at the USA club level. They have what's called observers, and the observers watch the game just like a referee does. They have a definitive call in every situation. but they're only called upon if the players can't decide on what the right call was while self-officiating. And you know what?
Yeah.
I know that spirit of the game is in the rules for Ultimate. When the games get intense, spirit of the game kind of goes out the window sometimes. And I'm not criticizing anybody or anything, but things get intense in Ultimate, and that's what happens. That's when the observer comes in and says, that wasn't a travel, play on. And that's it. And I personally, again, I'm not in any of these meetings that decide what the format is. On the outside, on paper, it seems to me like they could act as observers. And you know what? They're there now to help keep time. They're there right now to make sure that pace of play while, the camera cards are getting filmed is okay. But yeah, I think right now they could also act as observers, same way in Ultimate. If players are having a tough time deciding whether a disc is in bounds or not, observer can come up and make the call. Yeah, that's about it for me. I know the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour have two different methods, so we also have to keep that in mind as well. So it's not like one lump sum. But yeah, that's about it. We got a lot of emails about that. Those are our opinions, and yeah, we're just gonna stick with it, Nate, and move on. Before we wrap up the show, anything else you got for me? Any stories? Any thoughts? What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking a bit about the Masters Cup that's going down here, and I don't know if you saw the field, but this is probably one of the more stacked Masters Cup fields, and since it was an NT, right now Gannon Burr at the top with Niklas, Cole Redolin and Luke Taylor make the lead card, Brian. So really good to see some good golf from them, and this is the kind of thing that can kind of restart your season, right? They haven't been playing well, both Luke and Cole. Their ceiling is the top, right? Cole's won at Ledgestone. Luke was balling out at Worlds last year. Their ceiling's the top of the game. Haven't been playing good. So looking forward to seeing them play on coverage tomorrow. Isaac's on the chase card. Noah Meinsma, Matty O on the chase card, as well as Mike Sale. He shot another good one.
Guy.
Yeah, so there's some good golf to be had here in Santa Cruz, and there's also going to be some high-level golf in New Mexico. So I'll be keeping an eye on both for sure.
I always laugh when I see Mike Sale at a disc golf tournament because I think to myself, he only has to play 18 holes tomorrow, Nate. That's so much less than he's capable of.
Yeah, he's not looking at 100 aces at De La tomorrow. Even one ace would be magic out there.
Well, Nate, that's going to do it for All Birdies, No Bogeys this week. We will see you next time at the Cascade Challenge in Washington. It's going to be a show. We'll see you there.
Looking forward to it, Brian. Great hanging.